Hello and welcome everyone. I am so honored that you're here today on Saturday morning brew and chat. I know there's many things that you could do in the morning, so thank you for spending a little bit of time here. I promise this is going to be useful for you if you are considering starting a business, or if you have an idea for a business, or if you're not sure whether business ownership is for you, but you want to find out whether this idea that you've had might work. And what I'm about to share today is how to vet any business idea before you spend tremendous amount of money on it. And so a little bit about me. Okay, so how to vet any business idea before you spend lots of money. My name is Patricia Saint Jean. A little bit about me. I'm a starter business coach. As I explained earlier, that's my expertise. And for everything else, once your business is started, I refer to experts, which I invite on a regular basis on this program, which is Saturday Morning Brew and Chat. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have another expert coming in. But once in a while, I like to present my expertise as well. So welcome. My experience is I've been a business owner pretty much 99.9% of my professional career. I started a business when I was in my early 20s. You can hear I have an accent. I come from France. I came in the US. I fell in love with the country, especially California and the San Francisco Bay Area. And I decided this was going to be my home forever. So in order to do that, I started a business. So it was not really intentional. It was more of a need to create a life for myself and also to be able to legally reside in this country. So I started a business then. And that business, I grew it to about $2 million with a few dozen employees. And I grew it for 20 years and then decided, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I need to expand myself. I decided to become a coach about 15 years ago. And my expertise is to help people start a business. I love that because it really helps them become more successful if from the foundation, from the beginning, they do the right research. So that's why I founded my company, which is called To Support Entrepreneurs in the early stage research, vetting, planning, and launching of the best business for them. So this is a little bit of what we offer, or what I offer through Open for Business. It's sort of a lab in a way for people who are thinking of starting a business. So we have business ownership research courses online. I offer group coaching and a community of business owners. There is market resources and referral, which is why I invite guest experts every 2 weeks on this particular presentation, on this particular event, which is Saturday Morning Brew and Chat. And I also offer for people who are ready to start a business or very serious about it, then I offer one-on-one coaching as well. Today, we're going to examine a methodology, and it's a business tool. It's a really useful tool to have in your toolbox as an entrepreneur, because once you understand that tool, you can use it time and time again, anytime, not just when you have a new business idea, but when you have a new idea for a new product or new service in your existing business. And it comes from the Lean Startup methodology. And the Lean Startup is a methodology that helps you align what your business is going to offer with what the market wants and the market needs and is willing to pay for. And I'll get into more details why. It was designed originally for fast-growing tech ventures and for the software development industry, for example, because what they found is a lot of companies, the traditional way, which was basically starting in the 50s, creating a business plan. You have an idea, you create a business plan that's 50 pages, and then you start the business. And the problem with that, a lot of founders and creators of businesses would start a business with just the idea that they had in their head, regardless whether it was a product or service that the market really wanted. So there was a disconnect between what the market wanted and needed and was willing to pay for, and what was in the head of the founders of the business. So it creates a problem because even not just in tech, but in any kind of business, a lot of times we make some false assumptions as business owners. We make assumptions that the market wants and needs this, and then we spend a lot of money building it, creating it and launching it, just to find out that we're struggling in actually, getting the market to buy into it. So instead of doing that, instead of spending all that money and all that time in launching a business, why not research the business idea well before, on paper, but also by communicating with customers and potential customers and partners, well before you invest a ton of money and time, and which also gives you the opportunity to refine it, to refine the idea, to make sure this is exactly what the market wants. So this is what this methodology is all about. The idea is to avoid guessing what customers will buy by getting feedback and immediately adjusting the product. It also prevents the companies to flop, and it increases the chances of success. The motto of this methodology is fail fast and fail often. Not fail like fail the business entirely, but fail, test products, get a product idea, put it on paper, test it, and then adjust it. So in a way, you tested it and you failed, and then you readjust it based on what the market wants. So how does that work? There are 3 key principles of fail fast and fail often. Number 1, you create hypotheses. It's a general assumption of the solution to a problem, right? Then you test the idea on customers, on users, on partners. You take notes, you get feedback, you get questions from them and comments from them. And then the third step is to adjust that idea and recreate it to better meet the needs of the market based on what you've learned. And then with that new idea, you create a new hypothesis and you repeat the testing and getting the feedback until you get a product that is pretty much accurately what the market will pay for and it wants to have. Because if you have a product that really answers what the market wants, guess what? You're not going to have to spend as much money and time and energy trying to convince the market that it needs to buy it. And that can be very expensive. So that's the first step. So here's what it works. So I'm going to share with you today, and if you're interested, I'll share a canvas too that I'll email you later on. But I'm going to share with you the building block of this methodology. And as you can see, it has nine blocks. And there's a reason why they are not in the right order here, and then we'll get into that. And also there's a reason why some of the blocks are bigger than the others. All right, so here is an example of the lean canvas. You're going to start with this block. So this is where you're going to be writing your ideas, doing your brainstorm. Okay, there's 2 parts to this. The first half, and each one of these blocks is going to be a question that I'll explain to you. The first half here has to do with the product itself. The second half here has to do with the market. And the middle part here is where the product and the market meet up, basically. So the first part is a problem. So here's what happens. A lot of people who start a business actually don't start with a problem, they start with a solution, right? So it's about identifying the problem. Most startups fail because they set out to build something, and what they set out to build is wasting them time, money, and effort because they build the wrong product. They build a product, again, as I mentioned earlier, that is just in the head of the founder or founders of that company, of that startup. So the idea here is we need to first not pick up a solution that we want to run with. We need to identify the problem that we're solving for the market. Because if it's a real problem, you'll find that, of course, as long as it's delivered correctly and well, you'll find that the market is going to want to buy it. It will be a lot easier than if it's not a problem, if it's not solving a problem. So the first step you do in this canvas that I'm sharing is top 3 problems and issues that exist in the lives of your customers. So in the first building block that I showed you earlier here, you're going to create a brief description of the top 3 problems that you are addressing. Okay, and then you're going to put together, identify what are they doing, how are they getting around that problem, and what alternative are they using to meet that problem. But it's also who is the competition, depending on what kind of products. Is there competition in that market? Hopefully there is, because if not, then, it's a little bit riskier. Not that it's a bad idea, but it could be a lot riskier, because if there's competition, that means there is already a market that is buying something. But you're going to create something that is better, and so you're going to identify the problem that you're solving for people. So that's the problem here. So your first building block here is identifying the problem, identifying the existing alternative and their problems, and also the competition. Now, the second one is on the opposite side of the canvas. Now, you're going to look at who are your customers. It's in red here on this canvas. Who are the target customers? Who are you solving the problem for? Can you segment these customers? Are they the end users? Are they the consumers? Or are they the professionals who are going to serve the consumers? For example, if you're going to create a product for photographers or for amateur photographers, or are you going to create a product for pros? If you have multiple targets in mind, for example, you could be, saying, okay, this product could be good for graphic designers as well as for lawyers. Then if you have different customer segments, you're going to create a different canvas for each one of these segments, okay? Because a lot of that canvas is going to depend on who the customer segment is. For example, how you're going to get to those customers. So create a separate canvas for each. It's very likely that a lot of these other blocks, like the problem, the solution, the channels, are going to be different too. So if you have different type of customers, then you may want to create a canvas for different people. For example, I'll give you an example for my business. There are people who want to buy a business in my world, and who want to start a business. There are people who want to start a business from scratch. And there are people who want to start a franchise, which is basically in between starting something from zero and buying something that's already existing, that's already built, that's for sale. So there will be 3 customer segments in my world, in my business. So for each one of these customer segments, I am going to have a different product if that's what I decide to pursue. If I decide to pursue people who are starting a business from zero, people who want to develop a franchise that is a turnkey concept, or people who want to buy a business that's for sale, these are 3 customer segments for me. Now, I could further divide each one of those. It could be people, let's say someone who wants to start a business. It could be somebody who already had a business, but they want to start another one. Okay. It could also be somebody who has a business, but they want help in developing a new products. Or it could be people who want to start a business, but they want to scale it. So basically, they're creating a different business model. So there are different sub-segments of your customers. It's your decision to decide which one you want to focus on your efforts on at first. Then we have the third one. The third block is the one that's in the middle. It's called the UVP, the Unique Value Proposition. And that one is, it's basically the bridge between the products and the market. This is going to be a single, clear, compelling message, and it's going to state why you're different and why it's worth paying attention to you. I'll give you some other example later. For example, we're going to look at Amazon, how Amazon fits in that model. But let me give you the example of my business again, because I'm familiar with it. My product tagline, it's just a tagline, basically. My product tagline is start the right business for you so that you can build a life you love. Okay. It's not just start a business so you can sell it to Amazon or Facebook or other company, although it could work for them. But my primary focus is for people who want a business, but they don't just want a business that makes money. They want a business that makes money, but they also want a business where they're going to be happy living with that business. And because I've observed in my career that a lot of people who start a business just end up hating it. And they are just as much slave to the business as they were when they were working for somebody. So to me, and to a lot of people, it's actually not worth it. If you feel like you are chained to your business and it's ruining your life, it's ruining your family, it's ruining everything in your life, then is it really worth it? If it doesn't give you the flexibility and the freedom and what you want to get out of it in addition to the income, is it worth it? So that's my tagline. That's why I chose that tagline, because it's another reason, also part of my big why. But that is my unique value proposition. Okay, so the unique value proposition, again, it's a single, clear, compelling message that states why you're different and why it is worth paying attention to you. And the idea is to capture your customers' attention. So then we have finally solution number 4. You see how small that block is? And it's on purpose. And the issue a lot of people have when they start a business is that their solution is too vast. It's too big. It's really hard to resist. I struggle with it myself because I want to provide something that's super complete. And, I'm thinking of all the bells and whistles I want to add that can help. But at the beginning, you need to really focus on a solution that is going to be the minimum features, because as you grow in your business, as you interact with your customers, you're going to let your customers tell you what they want. You're not going to decide for them. Let's say you come up with a solution to the problem that you have identified for the customer segment that you want to target, and as you offer that solution, they are going to be, maybe liking some of the features or maybe not, but if you provide the minimum, then as you communicate with them, you can hear from them what else they want to hear from you. You've already established credibility in your area of expertise, in your world, then it's a lot easier for you, number 1, to communicate with your audience, and number 2, to have credibility with them, because they already know, love, and trust you for the top 3 features, the minimum features that you have offered. So that's where your solution comes into place. So what is your solution? What is the minimum feature set of your proposition? Once you understand the problem, then you're in the best position to define a possible solution. Okay. One example, I had a client who was very brilliant. He was developing a software, and I forgot exactly, Internet of Things. And he was developing this product, and it was taking a long time because he was putting all the bells and whistles on that product. And guess what? By the time he was ready to put it out to market, somebody already had a product like this, and so features that he had dreamed up in his head were not exactly what customers cared about. So he wasted a lot of time, and because of time is money, that means he wasted a lot of money as an opportunity cost, trying to create a product, trying to make it perfect, just to find out that somebody already entered the market, and that his products had features that people were not particularly paying attention to. So that's a risk that you run if you're going to offer everything. And I know it's tempting because I struggle with that as well. I want to offer this. I know my clients could use that. I think that would be helpful, and etc. So be careful, have discipline in identifying the solution that you're offering and set the minimum features, the minimal value proposition. Okay, now number 5 is also where you identify how you're going to get to your customers. In this little box here, you're going to create a path, identify the path to your customers. There are going to be free paths and paid channels that you can use. For example, for me, the free path to my customers is what I'm doing today, is providing content, providing value to get my name out there, but also to hear what people want to know, what they need, what they need in terms of starting a business. Because honestly, I've been in business for 35 years and I forgot what it's like to start a business from scratch. It's been a long time, and things have changed in 30 years too. So, I need to identify the path to my customers, the free path and the paid path. So the free path could be, okay, I'm writing articles, I have a blog, I post on social media organically, I create little training sessions like this today. So that's one of the paths to customers. Another free path would be, of course, Score is inviting me next month to do a class like this. That's also a free path to my clients. Paid channels, that would be, for example, if I do paid advertising on Facebook. That's a very effective channel, but it's also very expensive, but it's also useful. A lot of people with the algorithm of social media now, if you do a research on start a business, most likely you're going to see some ads on your Facebook page that show you classes or products or services to help you start a business. So identify the channels of getting to your customers. Okay, so that's number 5. Okay, number 6 is going to be your revenue streams. Here, this is where you identify your revenue model. For example, your revenue model could be, you're going to do one-on-one coaching. If you start a business like mine, one-on-one coaching, that could be a revenue model. It could also be, if I had a channel on YouTube, maybe someday I will, that had tens of thousands of people, I could probably do advertising and get paid for sharing my videos on YouTube. That could be a revenue model. Of course, my online courses could be a revenue model, or my membership that I'm going to launch next month could be a revenue model. So there's a lot of different ways you identify your revenue, how you're going to make income, and also identifying your gross margin. All right, number 7 is going to be your cost structure. So if you start a business, depending on the type of business it is, if it's a restaurant, for example, you're going to have fixed cost and variable cost. The fixed costs are going to include the rental of the building that you're renting. Variable cost is going to be cost of goods sold. It could be the food, of course. It could be also the labor cost. If you hire people, wait staff based on how many hours that you need them. There's going to be distribution costs. If you start a website or online business, there's going to be hosting. There's going to be software application that you need. I use Kajabi, for example. Kajabi is one of my platforms that I use. I've tried a few. That's the one I like right now. There's going to be some different costs. So putting a high-level identification of your cost will help you create your business model. And we have step number 8. Okay, step number 8 is going to be your key metrics, your activities. Those are the activities that measure how you get revenues. For example, it's not going to be $ necessarily. It's going to be how many customers visit your website. If you have a lead magnet, like an offer, like a PDF that people download in exchange of their email address, it's going to be how many people download my PDF. So those are going to be key metrics for you. It's going to be if you provide a webinar like Jeff Walker. Again, I were talking about Jeff Walker's masterclass, which is, in my view, very, very interesting. Of course, he's not doing this for no reason. It's very, very expensive to put together a masterclass that's this. He's going to sell his course, which, I took, and honestly, it changed my business life at the end. But he's going to offer a very valuable class, and he's going to measure how many people who signed up for his class actually ended up buying the product. So that's going to be a way to measure. It's called the conversion rate. So that's going to be key metrics. So identify maybe 2 or 3 key metrics that are going to be very important in your type of business. If you're a restaurant, it's going to be how many people make a reservation perhaps per month. So those are the key metrics that you need to identify for your business. So that's number 8. So now you see we're almost done with our clean canvas. Number 9 is probably the hardest one to come up with. And really it's difficult. But what you need to do is find a way to make yourself stand out and identify what is your unfair advantage. For example, in my case, I still struggle with this, and sometimes it just comes, you eventually get that later after you've started your business. It's possible. But for example, your unfair advantage is something that is not going to be easily copied or bought. It's going to help deter copycat. Maybe you have intellectual property. Maybe you're getting a trademark. If I ran my business based on my personality, for example, the unfair advantage is harder to design, and it can be left blank until you understand your product fully. But it's also your competitive advantage and a barrier to entry that you can find in your business plan. All right, so now I want to show you what it looks like. This could be your lean canvas. Now, this is something you would do maybe in an hour or 20 minutes even. You're going to take a bunch of these little lean canvas, and if you want a copy, I'll be happy to email you a copy that you can fill out as you go. But this could be what it looks like. This could be like what it looks like on a different type of board, for example. Again, it's not something you're going to spend days and years. You're going to do this fairly quickly, but then the time spent to do the research is where you're going to spend more time. So I promised you we're going to look at Amazon back in 1994. And so here's Amazon. You look at the problem. So Amazon in 1994, the problem they identified way back then is that bookstores were expensive. And if you want to buy a book, if you love to read books, you have limited inventory in bookstore. It's hard to find books, and it's even harder to find recommendation at bookstores. The other alternative was library. Same thing. You couldn't really always find the right book you wanted in a library that was near in your town or even in university before the internet, right? So those were the alternative: bookstore, catalog, book clubs, etc. That's how people got books. Now, we didn't think it was a problem. I mean, if you had asked me there back then, do you have a problem getting books? I would say, well, we're used to it. So sometimes as an entrepreneur, you need to identify the problem people don't realize they have, because we are so used to getting around the solution, getting around the problem, that we forgot it's a problem. But Amazon or Jeff Bezos at the time identified, wow, we have this internet now. What if books were available to anybody, anywhere in the world, any books, if there was a system? So he identified the problem, and the second thing he did was identify the customer segment. And the customer segment were people who buy books. Simple, right? But the early adopters in the customer segment were people who love books, but also were willing to take their credit card out and give the numbers online. At the time, it was considered risky. I was one of the first adopters of Amazon back then, and even though I had for a long time, at the beginning, they would send a Christmas gift to their customers. I had these cups that said Amazon. Avid book readers at the time did not use the internet, but those who were willing to use the internet and willing to give out their credit card online to buy a book were the early adopters of Amazon. And that's what you need to do when you start a business. You need to identify your customer segment, but also identify the early adopters, because those are the ones who are going to help you grow your business. Not only that, but they're going to be your biggest evangelists. And that's probably why Amazon, in the first year of being in business, sent coffee cups that said Amazon, and it said the Earth's largest bookstore. And that was their unique value proposition, which is number 3, right? Number 3 in the building blocks. The Earth's largest bookstore. That's all there is. And at the time, it totally clicked. You totally knew exactly what that was all about. Now think about it. When it comes to the solution, and which is number 4 here, Amazon created a website that sells all the books available. It was based on also customer-based reviews. They would ship directly from the distributor, so they didn't have to carry a large inventory. They had a very efficient warehouse. Okay. But think about Amazon then if it had said, oh, I'm going to be Amazon like Amazon is today. Everything and anything, software and cloud services and groceries and books, of course, and everything else. It probably have never taken off because it was not an expert enough in one area. And the reason they grew the way they did is because after they were successful selling books online, they kept getting feedback. They were able to move to the next product and offer an additional product and expand their niche. And as they grew and as they became successful. Now, if they had started back then in 94 like it is today, they would have never been able to succeed because it would have been way too costly. And honestly, they could have sold things that people didn't want at the time, or maybe the market was not ready at the time. So that's a big advantage of niching down your solution and trying to offer a minimal viable product with it. Okay, so the next thing that you need to do, and I'm going to look at my building blocks here. So after you have the solution in place, Amazon, what they looked at is the channels of communication with their customers. Simple. It was direct to customers to their website, and then, of course, email. So that's how they got to their customers. Then, number 6 is the revenue streams. At the time, they made money 2 ways, with book sales and also with shipping fees. The next one is number 7, which is a cost structure for Amazon. And the cost structure was basically developers, website operation, a customer service staff and center, the logistics, and of course, the cost of goods sold, which were the products. Number 8 are the key metrics. So their key metrics, sales conversion per visitor. So every people who visited their website, how many of them were actually buying a product? And then also they looked at the average sales transaction. So of all those people who bought a product, who bought on Amazon, what was the average purchase and the total sales to visitors? So they were able to identify people who visited Amazon then and actually bought versus didn't buy it. So that's the key metrics for Amazon. And then number 9, what is their unfair advantage? The unfair advantage based at the time was unlimited selection of books with great prices and customer service. So that's an example for you. So this is why I think it's so important to use this exercise, because as Ash Maurya, who is one of the creator of the Lean Startup methodology, if you start with a solution, it's like you're building a key before you have a door, right? So yes, you can build a beautiful key very fast, but then you're going to spend the time finding the door. So that's why when you start a business, start with a problem and then follow the sequence of building block as I just explained with the methodology. So what would be the next step? So, okay, let's say today I'm going to send you this canvas if you want it. And what will be your next steps? Your next steps are going to be probably what's going to take a little bit more time. You're going to go out in the field. You're going to talk to your customers. You're going to contact them. You may start with just your customers, or you may start with friends and then go to customers. You may want to interview both. Your friends are going to say your product is beautiful and great, so it's helpful, but it may not be as helpful. Some of them may be giving you better feedback, but always trying to find a way to get your customers to give you feedback. Not just surveys. It could just be having a cup of coffee with them and talking, showing them your business plan, showing them your product. You could create short videos and explain your idea and ask for comment and feedback. Today, you can use social media and ask questions. And at the same time, as you're asking these questions, you are creating a buzz. I mean, you can start with a small list, but you could say, I'm thinking of creating this product. What do you think of it? And then as you get this feedback, you go back to your problem solution, and then you refine it and you improve it. Okay, so now it's time for questions.
I have a question. I love the canvas. Let me just say that. And with love to use it and to get a copy because it does make the path for developing a company more structured than what I do. I just run in and try a lot of things and then get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I heard an interview with Jeff Bezos and just recently, and he said how he had worked in the stock market and he had this software algorithm that he started thinking he could start using, or he started looking for another way to use the algorithm. I forgot how that worked. But what I'm asking is, he actually had a solution first. The solution was, I have this algorithm. I think I can do something with it. And books was the best vehicle for doing that with. So that's my only thing with wanting to know. He already had a solution. I mean, isn't that a little bit different than what the lean startup is saying?
Well, he had a tool, right?
Yes.
But he had a tool. He wasn't sure. So yes, but still, let's say he could have decided, okay, maybe I'm going to figure out who needs a washing machine with this algorithm and sell washing machines, and so you can begin with a solution, but you still need to identify the problem that you're solving.
Okay.
And for example, when I had a business before, and it was a spa. So it was in the 80s. I started in 88, basically. So nobody knew what a spa was then. So I had a solution because I knew what a spa was. I come from France. We do spas all the time. Actually, the government, health system used to pay for spa treatments because they were considered therapeutic. So, but in the US, nobody knew what it was. I mean, I had to repeat it several times. What is a spa? People would say. So I had a solution, but I didn't really know whether it was going to work here. Now, I have to be frank with you and honest. I didn't really do a lean canvas back then because I don't think it even existed. I used my intuition and I made a lot of mistakes as a result. But here's what I did one time is I wanted to keep my customers coming to my spa after it was successful and doing well, but I wanted to keep loyalty. I wanted, the old-fashioned way of getting loyalty from customers back in my country was to give them a little card with a little discount. You get 10, you buy 10 facials and you get one free or something like that. But I wanted to find a way to create this loyalty more automatic. So I went out and looked at some other industry and I realized, hey, the airline industry gives people miles. Every time you buy a trip, you get miles and you can use some of those miles to redeem another trip, right? That was kind of a way for people to become loyal to that particular airline. So I use that tool in my business. Every time a customer would come to my spa, automatically my point of sale system would, that I developed with a developer, would give them points, and with so many points they would get either discount on their next facials, or it could be a free facial entirely if they had. So sometimes you get tools that you extrapolate from different industries. Now at the time that was novelty, nobody did that, it was new. Now it's pretty common. So you may find tools, but you still need to figure out what is the problem you're solving. Because we're not linear. People think in different ways. They have intuitions and they come up with different things that you don't know where they're coming from, honestly, ideas, right? I mean, that's what creative people do. You don't always know where your idea is coming from, but you still need to figure out, okay, I have this idea, I have this solution. Am I really fixing a problem? What is the problem that I'm fixing here?
Right. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions about this? But thank you. That's a very valid point. We don't know where it began, really. And, when people say, oh, wow, here's the internet. How about we sell stuff on it? And then people say, how about we train people? How about we provide education online? I mean, it's a progress, and it's just the way things evolve, innovation and, and creativity.
Nice.
Is Lily going to ask a question before I ask another one?
I don't have a lot of questions. I really think that I agree with you that it creates a clear picture of the major important elements in business concept creation. And I really like that. I hadn't seen this before, so thank you. And it's very clear what you went over. My question is more just related to, do you have any advice for like any examples that have worked for your with clients or for you yourself in the next step portion of putting yourself out there? Like, I know you have to just give it a go and see what works, and then it really depends on your company and like what you're putting out there. But do you have any preferences that you do for contacting or giving surveys or creating
So
videos?
yeah, preferences depends on the business you have,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
I
there
was
are many
thinking.
ways.
Yeah.
And that's another topic today. We don't have enough time to go through that. But one of my next presentation is going to be on the validation. These next steps, which I have
Okay.
here.
Then
You know,
I'll be there for that one.
okay.
No worries.
Well, I really admire you. I don't know how you do get up in the middle of the night, but thank you. I
I'm
appreciate it
I'm
so much.
glad you can understand what I'm saying, and I'm not like, oh,
Yeah.
zombie
Well, the
motherfucker.
thing is, you get to ask your question too, and it's so much better. It makes such a
Yeah.
great, much better, presentation because you have, like, I get immediate feedback from you. Your questions are super useful. So, like, for example, I'm going to give you a little secret. What I'm doing right now is validation today.
Right.
I'm launching a new product pretty soon and I want to validate it before I launch it. I want to hear those questions. I want to know, am I going to create this higher chapter of my membership on how to start a business and how to validate a business idea and nobody's going to be interested? How do I know people are going to be interested in it? Right?
Yeah.
This is why I'm doing this free training today because I need to hear feedback. And I'm also going to do it with Score, which also is going to give me feedback. So, the next few weeks, basically what I'm doing right now with these meetup groups and sending to my list and posting on social media, on LinkedIn, and sending to all my groups that I'm using. I have groups like my alma maters, my colleges, and I'm inviting people there, and a lot of people but people see it and join me from there. I don't remember how you found me, Lee, but I think it was on the internet, right? On LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn group.
So yeah. So what I'm doing it today is an example of validation, right? Now you could send a survey too. Survey are helpful too, but it's not as direct, of feedback as talking to people. So yeah. So looking also, so there are other ways too. You can look online. For example, I go on Quora. Quora, a lot of people, when people ask a question about starting a business, I read the questions and I offer free information, free knowledge, because I want to hear what is on people's mind. What do they think when they want to start a business? What are the biggest obstacles that they have about starting a business? Do I need to help them to learn how to find funding for them? Do I need to help them to learn how to make sure the idea is going to succeed? So there are many, many ways. And then you can join groups on social media, Facebook groups, for example. And a lot of people ask questions in Facebook groups, and it also will help you, get a feel for what people are struggling with. And once you know what people are struggling with, if it's relevant to your business, this is where you come up with a solution. And then you refine that solution and as you get feedback from your customers.
Yahoo. Awesome.
Yeah. Great question. Thank you. How about you, Gay? I know you have another one.
Well, I just wanted to say that I found this very helpful, and I think it'll definitely help anyone who's starting a new business. My question is, I'm a coach, and my niche is happiness, but I talk to a lot of people. They say they're unhappy. They say, they're overwhelmed and stressed. And my problem is figuring out what it is, what the real problem is. To me, the solution is helping them to learn about happiness, but I don't think that's the problem they see, and I'm having a problem figuring it out. So how do I niche down to something smaller?
It's a big topic.
Yeah.
Like, for example, it has to do with well-being, right?
Yeah.
And there could be a lot of different branches in that. Are they unhappy about themselves? Is it a self-esteem problem? Do they have a clinical condition like
Right.
depression. I mean, people say depression is not unhappiness, it's just not wanting to be doing anything or engage in anything. You know, it's a big topic. So you need to, yes, you're right. You need to narrow it down because selling happiness, people have different perception of what is going to make them
Right.
happy. You
Right.
know, the more you niche down, the better. I don't know what your field of expertise is. You
Training
know,
and development.
I'm sorry.
Training and development.
So you're a trainer for what kind of products?
I used to do sales products. I developed training for sales and manufacturing.
Okay.
I have to think about it more.
Yeah, I mean, you may want to decide on what segment of customers you want to work with. Are you looking to help kids? Are you looking to help adults? Are you looking to help men or women?
Women over 40 who are going through life transitions.
Okay. Yeah. So there are different people, different ways of doing that. You know, people over 40, you know, most of my customers are in that age group, a lot of them. There are people who had long successful career in corporate, and all of a sudden they've been pretty much pushed out of corporate for age due to their age. And that's so you may want to look at who my customers are, you know, and if you're going to help them becoming happy, you know, for example, career coaches could help you too. You know, I invited a career coach a little while back on this show, I would call it podcast, videocast, or something like that. And she's a psychologist. She's been a psychologist for 30 years, and she decided to niche down to people who are changing career and who are but in their 30s. You know, so they are, you know, listening to her may give you some ideas. She's actually on my website. If you go on the market resources on my website, there will be a recording of this session as well as previous recordings. So you can look at the career coach on my website on the market resources, but listen to different groups and different presentations so you can narrow down your niche. You know, are people unhappy about their career? Are they unhappy about their relationship? Are they unhappy about their health or their appearance or their weight or their, you know, different areas? Decide, are they unhappy about, I don't know, other things?
Their lifestyles. Most I think I was thinking of their mindset. A lot of times people are unhappy because they have expectations that don't fit their current reality. And so teaching them about the science of happiness and how expectations affect that is what originally I had started with.
Yeah. Or gratitude, you know, practicing gratitude could be, you're right. It's a beautiful topic, and I think a lot of people need it, where they don't need to go pop pills and they don't need to have a drink to numb their feelings about unhappiness. They should do something else to fix it, right? And you could help people that way. But, you know, definitely you need to identify your market and the problem that you're solving in a more narrow way, and then you can always expand it depending what your audience needs.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this was great.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Let me see what time is. Wow, we already spent an hour together. I can't believe it. Wow, that just flew. See, that's what happened. This to me is a sign. Time went really quickly. I had a blast, and it sounds like you guys got some stuff out of this. So let's see. Do I have another slide on this? I don't remember if So I'll send you the canvas that you can fill out. It's a fillable canvas. Oh yeah, that's my last slide. So here's one of my favorite quotes. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, is that it's too low and we hit it. That's from Michelangelo.
Really?
Thank you so much for your participation. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I really enjoyed this.
I love that quote. I also like your motto: fail hard and fail fast, or fail fast and fail often. I subscribe to that one.
You're right. In low ways, I'm guilty of that. We build ourselves up because we're trying to be doing something perfect. If you try to make things perfect, you'll never do them. That's worse than not doing it wrong, right? And we need a sense of humor. I mess up a lot of times, and I've been trying to put this even together since last April, and the first 2 months were horrible. So I'm not even posting the first 2 months. But you learn. This is the only way to learn. So, and that's why I love the Lean Canvas methodology, because really it's a principle. Put it out there. Don't wait until you're an expert. You'll never become an expert if you don't make mistakes. That's for sure.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, yeah. So, sounds great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were here, and it was a blast. I hope you're going to have a great weekend. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have another expert coming in, which I think will be helpful for you too. She's wonderful. I'm a big fan of hers. She's a friend of mine. She's on my mastermind. So we're going to talk about 10 ways to repurpose your social media content. So there's many ways to repurpose, because when you start a business, you're going to find that you don't have time for everything. Everything takes too long. Yeah. And until you have a team working with you. So in 2 weeks, we'll have Alison, my friend from Australia. She also is going to be getting up in the middle of the night to talk to us at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. But she'll be here, and she'll be sharing a very, very valuable information for us to help us move forward in our businesses. Well, thank you, everyone. It was such a blast having you here on this presentation today. I learned a lot. I really appreciate your input, your feedback, your participation. That's what makes it fun. And, next in 2 weeks, we'll have another event like this. I hope you can make it. It will be very useful for your business. I am inviting an outside expert. And the 2 weeks after that, I'll be presenting again on the second part of this start a business, ways to start a business without spending a ton of money and making sure that your idea is going to fly and not flop. But for now, cheers to building a life we love with the right business for us. Take care.